Tens of thousands of international students and Fulbright grantees arrive in New York every year. While they come in search of new opportunities, they bring with them their traditions, their cultures, their stories. But settling into this new home can become overwhelming.
For many of us, this new, unfamiliar city can be a daunting place.
We all need a sense of community. We all desire to belong.
That's why One to World has been helping international students
foster genuine connections.
We've been a pioneering force in helping international students connect with hosts, local communities, and other international students. One to World was founded by a group of foreign student advisors committed to closing the gap between international students and the broader New York community.
Since 1977, One to World has been bringing different people, different languages, different cultures together.
We've been building bridges across the man-made borders that divide us. We've been breaking down cultural barriers and creating collaborative, inclusive environments.
Through cultural programs,
Social events,
career workshops,
community service, and foreign affairs conferences.
We help international students, hosts, and local residents build trust through open dialogue, face-to-face interactions, and intercultural understanding.
I went from being lost
to finding pride in my individuality.
From leaving home to finding a new family.
from feeling alone to forging lifelong bonds.
Our Global Classroom program connects trained international scholars with New York City youth to help them develop the skills, awareness, and understanding to become global citizens.
By working together with so many people,
I really acquired a global perspective
and learn about different cultures and viewpoints.
Whether with a meal, a weekend visit, or a holiday celebration, we've helped thousands of students bond with American hosts and find comfort in the community.
With One to World, you can embrace new adventures,
new cultures,
new relationships.
no matter who you are,
What your story is,
Where you come from, you can find a home in our community.
Come join us and open your heart to the world with One to World.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Creighton Condon, chairman of the board of One to World and one of tonight's co-chairs for this event. I'd like to start first with just a brief moment to acknowledge the ongoing tragedy in Ukraine and this afternoon's terrible school shooting in Texas. Welcome to the 2022 One to World Fulbright Awards Dinner. It's great to be back in person, and I want to thank each and every one of you. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining us and supporting our work. And I'm thrilled to be able to announce that before tonight's ongoing possibilities, we have raised $680,000 for One to World so far tonight. Thank you very much. So we're very proud to be honoring 4 outstanding people this evening: Ram Jagannath, George Logothetis, Morgan Radford, and Tony Verstansig. Look forward to hearing from you later on. It's also a privilege to have with us this evening and shine a light on the incredible work that each of you are doing. We also have a number of past honorees who are joining us this evening, and we're thrilled to have you here as well. I'd like to acknowledge and thank our co-chairs, Erica Berthoud, Georgia Garinois, Milan Kututu, there we go. With my name, I hope you'll give me a little room to screw up other people's names. And Sue Henderson. And I also want to acknowledge tonight's ambassador sponsors for their generous support. Libra Group, Lion Point Capital, and the Verstansig Family Foundation. Thank you. Thank you so much for your very, very generous support for this evening. Finally, we'd like to give a special recognition to one of the world's 40 member colleges, universities, and institutions. We are a member organization at our outset in the tri-state area who are our partners in our work. You are the inspiration behind One to World and partners in all that we do, and thank you very, very much. Tonight we're excited to have our first ever in-person live auction. You will have the opportunity to bid on 6 exclusive trips and experiences ranging from a special dinner and wine pairing here in the city to a 7-night stay in paradise in Mykonos, Greece at a private poolside villa. You'll also hear from 4 incredible Fulbrighters, which is always one of my favorite parts of these evenings, from around the world, each with their own inspirational story to share, and of course, you'll hear from our distinguished honorees. We're all here tonight to celebrate the power of face-to-face experiences with those from different backgrounds. After the last 3 years, none of us can take for granted how special and important these face-to-face moments are. Thank you again for your support, which enables us to provide important programming for Fulbright and other international students and global classroom activities for students here in New York. And one more thank you to One to World's Executive Director, about to come up and speak, Jen Clark. And to her incredible staff for all they have done through COVID to keep this organization not only afloat, but actually thriving. And thank you very much. Jen?
Thank you very much, Creighton. Good evening, everyone. I can't tell you how happy I am to see you all here tonight. As Creighton mentioned, it has been 3 long years since we've been able to come together in person to celebrate the Fulbright vision and the mission of One to World. I must give a heartfelt thank you to the One to World Board of Directors for all that you have done to ensure the success of this organization, especially these last few years. And a huge shout out to the One to World team, whose incredible dedication and commitment ensures that we provide high quality, transformative programming throughout the year and even through a pandemic. Let me kick off the evening together with a One to World tradition. Please continue eating, but I am going to ask a few of you to stand, and when I do so, I ask that you stay standing. So we're going to start with all the current Fulbright students and scholars. Could you please stand up for a moment? And stay standing. Okay. And stay standing, so then now, can I ask all Fulbright alumni who are here tonight, can you please stand? And that includes some of our honorees. There you go. And please stay standing. And so, for anyone here tonight, though, that has studied abroad, lived in another country, or worked abroad, could you please stand up? Isn't that amazing? We have more than 30 countries represented in the room tonight, which is a shining example of the global community that One to World brings together. We're excited to be honoring 4 extraordinary individuals tonight: Ram Jagannath, George Logothetis, Morgan Radford, and Tony Verstandig, each of whom has made a significant contribution to intercultural understanding and cooperation. It means so much to us that you have committed time, energy, and resources to making this evening's event such a success. Thank you. For 45 years, One to World has woven a tapestry of understanding, appreciation, and friendship, inspired by the vision of Senator Fulbright, who himself was honored at this event almost 30 years ago. When the senator created his educational exchange program following World War II, he believed that creating a tipping point of people who had experienced other cultures and countries could prevent future conflict. And he knew this couldn't just happen in the classroom. It's why in the legislation he included funding for programs such as One to World, to ensure that scholars get off their campus and into the community, that they make personal connections in the countries in which they study. One to World is truly a one-of-a-kind organization. We make the most of an incredible opportunity to make real lasting connections among people from all over the world, right here in our classrooms, our homes, our boardrooms, and our communities. This is citizen diplomacy in action. Everyone in this room is crucial to our success. Whether you've been supporting One to World for years, or whether today is the first time that you're hearing about our programs, I am so thrilled to have you with us. So now please join me in welcoming the presenter of our first award tonight, Carla Nudell, Fulbright student from Argentina.
Thank you, Jen, and good evening, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here tonight. My name is Carla Nudell, and I am a Fulbright grantee from Buenos Aires, Argentina. I am currently pursuing my master's in journalism at New York University, and I'm passionate about finding creative ways to drive diversity in media. Back home, I have worked for broadcast news outlets like Radio Mitre, Argentina's largest radio station, and also for journalistic nonprofits. I have even worked as a teaching fellow at Google News Lab, giving trainings for journalists on how to use digital tools. And this summer, I'm really excited to travel to Washington, D.C. to intern with National Geographic's user experience team. If I had to choose one key moment that shaped me as a professional and as a person, it would be when I began volunteering with Chicas Poderosas, which is an international organization that works to promote the development of women and non-binary people in media. While there, I planned and coordinated a multimedia project called Los Derechos No Se Aíslan, which was a nationwide investigation about how women and LGBTQI people access their sexual and reproductive rights during the pandemic in Argentina. We produced long-form stories with illustrations, data visualizations, podcasts, videos. We really thought about how we could engage people on these issues we cared so much about. It got national attention, then international. It was ultimately featured by more than 100 media outlets. It was even quoted in the Argentinian Congress during the debate about the free and safe abortion law, which was passed by the end of 2020. This experience, thank you. Thank you. This experience made me realize that we have the power to come up with other, less traditional ways of working and telling stories based on collaboration and mutual understanding. So I decided to apply for a Fulbright scholarship and then came to NYU to explore more possibilities to do that within a more international scope. Studio 20, my program on digital innovation, has been great so far, teaching us skills and tools we can use to be change makers in newsrooms. But the truth is, when I arrived in New York City in August last year, I didn't know anyone, and that was really hard. But first, through Fulbright, I started to connect with other students. Then a friend suggested I join a program called Dinner Diplomats, organized by One to World, where local hosts invite us into their homes. I have since hiked in Garrison, shared a meal at a Haitian restaurant, and attended a tour about the colonial history of New York City. Thanks to this, I have met amazing people who I can now say they are and will always be my true friends. I know from my own life that building community takes a lot of work. That's why I'm really happy that there are organizations like One to World that are making spaces for community and connection so that people like me can share experiences and learn from one another. These kinds of interactions are critical for building a world that is more empathetic, one where there is not just tolerance, but actual appreciation for difference. I want to contribute to building this kind of world. I want to lead innovative projects that bring more diversity, equity, and inclusion, that give more opportunities to journalists from underrepresented backgrounds and make high-quality journalism accessible to everyone. I am very proud to be presenting tonight's first award to someone who shares these same goals and whom I just met tonight, and I can say she's awesome. Morgan Radford is a correspondent for NBC News and anchor of the daily news program and NBC News Now, the network's digital streaming service. Her work frequently appears on The Today Show, NBC Nightly News, MSNBC, and Noticias Telemundo. Ms. Radford joined NBC in 2015 and has covered some of the biggest stories in the US, from the past two presidential elections to the disproportionate impact of COVID-19 on low-income communities to the racial reckoning following the murder of George Floyd. Her coverage of the immigration debate over the US southern border was part of the MSNBC Border Special that was nominated for an Emmy. She also won a Gracie Award in 2021, which recognizes exemplary women in media. Through her work, Ms. Radford tells stories that center and amplifies diverse voices that are often not heard. Most of the time, she reports in Spanish, allowing her to directly reach an even greater audience. Ms. Radford's early life helped to shape the open-mindedness and curiosity that led her to journalism. Born and raised in North Carolina, Ms. Radford's family has roots in Cuba and Jamaica. Her mother traveled internationally for work, and there were many different languages and cultures and foods in their home growing up. While pursuing her bachelor's degree at Harvard, Ms. Radford traveled to Cuba and took classes at the University of Havana. She also did an internship in college in my hometown of Buenos Aires. In 2010, she received a Fulbright grant to teach English at the University of KwaZulu-Natal in Durban, South Africa. It was there that she got her start in journalism. She produced a documentary about the students she worked with, using just a camcorder and teaching herself how to use editing software. The documentary helped Ms. Radford land a spot at Columbia University's Graduate School of Journalism. Her first job out of graduate school was with ABC News. She went on to spend 2 years at Al Jazeera America as an anchor and correspondent before joining NBC News. Today, she is an award-winning journalist whose passion for telling unique, compelling stories is helping to build knowledge and empathy in service of a more equitable world. It is my great pleasure to present the One to World Fulbright Award for Intercultural Awareness and Understanding to Morgan Radford.
I think it's fair to say that I look forward to working for Carlita one day. Carlita, thank you very much. I can't wait until you're my boss. Bonsoir, buenas noches, good evening, saubona. In all the places I have lived, saubona is my favorite greeting. It is isiZulu for hello. It is a greeting, but isiZulu is one of the 11 official languages of South Africa, and it literally means, it translates to, I see you. And it is about giving the dignity and the worth of recognizing the humanity of everyone whom you see. So I see you, and tonight is about me thanking you for being the first to see me. I am from Greensboro, North Carolina. I am the product of two very proud, loving parents who taught me to look inward, but to love outward. They told me there was only two things I had to do, right? I had to love the world with reckless abandon, but I also had to be accountable for my place in the world. And part of that meant making space sometimes when I was asking to be part of spaces and institutions that were not even historically or structurally built for my inclusion. But my mother said there was just one thing I had to do if I was lucky enough, if I was blessed enough, if I was privileged enough to find myself in one of those spaces. And that was that I had to turn back and I had to make room for others. That I had to expand the boundaries of inclusions for people who did or did not look like me. And so it is with that spirit that I decided to apply for a Fulbright fellowship to South Africa. I had studied and read some of its history, and I thought it just had such a textured and interesting history. And so I went in 2010 and became a student professor. Imagine, I'm like 20 years old, right? At the University of Kuala. I was a pretty cool professor, I will say. I didn't mind if they handed in their homework late. And, I was there and I was hearing just these powerful ideas. And in it, you could hear this young country's belief and hope in its own brighter future. And it was there, upon listening to these stories, that I knew I wanted to become a journalist. But there was one catch. I applied to journalism school while in South Africa so that upon completing my Fulbright, I could matriculate here stateside, and I did not get in. Like, one sentence, bye girl, bye. You're not welcome. I cried a lot. And I said, well, you know what? I mean, imagine, like, I'm crestfallen at this point, right? Because I was literally writing to this university, submitting my application, hoping that I could pay them to teach me the things that I needed to do to break into this industry. Look, television, it's like television. I mean, you assume these are for people who are exceptionally rich or powerful or connected, none of which I was. I had never even met a journalist. So when that door closed, I just remembered how sad I felt. I felt like it was the end. I just couldn't enter this thing. But I remembered what my mama said. I had to make space. So I wrote the Fulbright committee. I asked them for $1,000 more in grant money. I sent it back to my dad in Atlanta, and I said, Papi, can you please send me with this $1,000, just 10 of those $100 Kodak flip cameras. They don't do anything special. He puts them in a box. He sends them to me in Durban, South Africa. I went to the State Department workers who were working on the ground, and I said, what is your area with the most high need? They identified a township for me, which is a low-income community in South Africa. And I went there. I took my box of 10 flip phone cameras, and I said, hey, kids, you're 16. This was the first generation of born-frees in South Africa. So the first generation of people who were born post-apartheid, right? I'm in there 2010, apartheid ends in 1994. And I said, it's not in the cards for me. I'm not privileged enough to have learned how to do this, but I'll teach you what little I do know. So I pass out these cameras, and every week we tackle a new topic. We do the economy one week, we do politics another week, we do race another week. And they're setting up their cameras, they're practicing their interview skills, they're learning how to ask questions and record themselves. And I will never forget one young student, and for the sake of this story and her anonymity, I will call her Pearl. And she said, "Morgan, I'm ready to tell my story, but it's going to be hard." And I said, "Oh, are you sure, Pearl?" She said, "Yes, I'm ready." She turns on the camera in front of her co-students. She describes a story of gender-based violence. And as the camera is still rolling, I paused and I said, "Pearl, are you sure we can talk about this afterward? She said, "No, because I feel lighter." And there are so many other people in this room who have experienced the same thing and have wondered if they can make it through the night. And I have survived, and if I can survive, they can too, and they should know it. And I knew in that moment I would do this for the rest of my life, that I would give myself and my career in service of Pearl and the countless others like Pearl. I also knew in that time that a journalist was born. Whether or not I had a fancy university to tell me that I was one, I was one. Because of my Fulbright experience, I was learning how to listen, how to craft narratives, how to understand. And so I gathered all of this footage from these students. I drove myself 6 hours to the only Apple store within hundreds of miles of a radius from where I was living in Durban. I taught myself how to edit, and I did what my Mama Kay, told me to do. And sometimes you gotta make space for yourself. And so I came back and I reapplied to journalism school, and I got in with a full merit tuition scholarship. And I became a living, breathing storyteller. And the rest, as they say, is history. Because I realized that at the end of the day, all stories are Ubuntu. Ubuntu is the South African principle that means I am who I am through you. I am, as a human, only existing because of our shared connection and connectivity as humans. And that's what stories are. They are what connect us. They are what define us at their best. They are what inspire us to action. They are the vehicle by which we take our seat at the table. They are the vehicle by which we make space for ourselves and for others. And so I have you and all of the mechanisms in place in this room tonight to thank for being the first ones to see me. Sawubona.
Good evening. My name is Iris Patra, and I'm a Fulbright grantee from Greece, pursuing my master's in negotiation and conflict resolution at Columbia University in New York. I hold a degree in history and philosophy of science from National and Kapodistrian University of Athens, as well as an honors bachelor's in international business and a minor in business across cultures from DIRI, the American College of Greece. I grew up in a quiet suburb north of Athens called Metamorphosi. I have always been an insatiable learner, reading, playing sports, visiting museums, enjoying the theater, music, cinema, and the arts, exploring nature, and volunteering. There are two words in Greek that characterize me well, meraki and philotimo. They have no direct translation, but mean to put your whole self into what you're doing, with honor and love and passion, and in community with others. My parents' wish for me was to become a citizen of the world. I am now 24 and have traveled to more countries than my age, and have participated I have also participated in exchange programs at Oxford and Heidelberg and at Harvard and Stanford. And I also speak 6 languages. I wanted to come to the US and especially New York, for my postgraduate studies, because I knew it would offer unrivaled opportunities to further develop and widen my horizons. A Fulbright scholarship made my dream a reality. And thanks to One to World, my experiences here have far exceeded my hopes and expectations. My first One to World event was an architectural tour in Midtown Manhattan led by William Singer, a Fulbright alumnus himself. After the tour, I asked him for suggestions for other things to see in the city. And some days later, he invited me to share Thanksgiving with him and his wife, Catherine. And they are both here with us tonight. It was like something out of a movie going to their house in the Upper East Side. I was completely alone and overwhelmed in this huge new city. And then, with that invitation, I suddenly had friends and a sense of belonging. This is the essence of Fulbright: exploring new places, making meaningful and inspiring connections, and building friendships that will last forever. I have since participated in nearly every One to World event: concerts, leadership workshops, providing food and clothes to the homeless, trying international cuisines. The list goes on. My highlight was being part of the Naval Academy Foreign Affairs Conference in Annapolis. This conference brings together undergraduates and midshipmen from the US and around the world to debate foreign policy. It was an amazing and very full 5 days. The chance to see what I am studying, negotiation and conflict resolution, put into practice was incredible. And I also won an award for Outstanding Delegate. I am so grateful to everyone here tonight for the opportunities you have given me and my fellow students. I can't imagine the experience of Fulbrighters in other cities that don't have One to World. Please know that what you are making possible will last through our lifetimes and will help us change the world for the better. I want to share one more story with you. In early 2020, while still an undergraduate at Degree, I applied for an internship with a multinational company called the Libra Group. Long story short, I didn't get the internship. And I was quite sad. Well, imagine my surprise when 1.5 years and a pandemic later, I received an invitation from One to World to be part of an intimate gathering with none other than the CEO of the Libra Group. Mr. George Logothetis. And tonight, I have the distinct privilege of introducing him as our next honoree. Mr. Logothetis is chairman and CEO of the Libra Group, whose subsidiaries own and operate assets in more than 50 countries across 6 continents. The group is predominantly focused in 6 sectors: aviation, renewable energy, hospitality, real estate, shipping, and diversified investments. Mr. Logothetis is a true global citizen. He has traveled to 86 countries so far. A New Yorker since 2005, he was born and raised in London to Greek parents. His family owned a small international shipping company, and he was surrounded by people from many different countries and cultures throughout his childhood. Afflicted with health problems as a child, Mr. Logothetis spent much of his early life in bed, reading books, watching documentaries, learning about history and psychology and business. When he was 17, he left high school to join the family company. 2 years later, at the age of only 19, he became CEO. Over the next decade, he led the company's transformation from 3 vessels to a fleet of 55 before creating the Libra Group in 2003. Social responsibility has been woven into everything Libra does. The group has 10 different programs that promote educational and business opportunity and support people who are marginalized or underserved. They span educational fellowships, backing for entrepreneurs, support for nonprofits, and of course, internships. The Libra internship program, the one I applied to, allows young people to work with the company in various roles and business sectors all over the world. Since 2011, several hundred interns from 44 countries have had the life-changing opportunity to work abroad. Additionally, Mr. Logothetis and his wife, Nitzia, founded the Seleni Institute, a global non-profit that addresses maternal mental health. Mr. Logothetis also chairs the Leadership Council of Concordia, which fosters cross-sector partnerships to address global challenges. He also sits on the board of directors of President Barack Obama's My Brother's Keeper Alliance. Mr. Logothetis, too, embodies the Greek concepts of meraki and philotimo. To all that he does, he brings passion and resilience, a profound commitment to giving back, and a belief in empowering others. It is truly my honor to present the One to World Fulbright Award for Outstanding Global Leadership to Mr. George Logothetis. Singharitiria.
All right, you're approved. Next year. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to you all. And it is, thank you so much. That was lovely. I'm very proud of you and what you stand for, what you've accomplished in a very short period of time. So, bravo, really. Always know you'll have a friend in me and a friend in Libra. For me, being here tonight is a very seminal moment. I'm just grateful to have the opportunity to be grateful to be here tonight. Let me explain why. They say that what does not kill you makes you stronger. I believe I can give my personal testimony to those wise and old words. By any stretch of logic or imagination, I should just not be standing here tonight. A freak accident 5 years ago led to a 4-year health crisis. I nearly lost my life on 4 separate occasions. But here I am. And so when I say I'm glad to be here, please appreciate deeply and truly, profoundly, how glad I am to be here tonight. But that is a different story for a different time. For obvious reasons, I cannot resist the temptation to invoke one of the wise old souls from ancient Greece, Aeschylus. He wrote many things, brilliant man, but my favorite is as follows. And even in our sleep, pain that cannot forget falls drop by drop upon our heart, and in our own despair, against our will, comes wisdom to us by the awful grace of God. So what have I understood these last 5 years that can help you, the hopeful future leaders of tomorrow, understand? I learnt that the last vestige of human freedom is how you choose to react to what can be an unjust world. You cannot escape conflict, injustice, suffering, pain. But you can elect how you would respond to it and what you take from it. The path of betterness or the path of bitterness? I learnt it is easier to be fearful than hopeful. But hope is free. Hope is free. It is an option. So is despair. This is an option too. They are both different sides of the same coin. I pray, especially to all the young people in the room, you choose the path of hope, because the happiest people I know are also the most hopeful people that I know. I learnt that injustice is immediate. Justice takes time. Nothing of value in this world is attained quickly, nor without resolve and resilience. Nothing. True progress is rarely immediate. It is painstaking. If it does not take years, it may not last days. Now, all this brings me to tonight. Where's Jen? Where are you? Oh, there, Jen. All right, okay. To this really fabulous organization of greatness and goodness. Jen, you really are an inspiration to all, an example of servant leadership that is inspiring and profound. And honestly, your work has never been more important than it is today. So thank you. Now, it is organizations like One to World which show IRIS and so many others. Sorry, this is the problem when you haven't spoken publicly for 5 years. You've tasted death 4 times. You mess up the lines every now and then. Often in this world, someone asked me the other day, what's the greatest liability here in the United States? And instinctively I said, just instinctively I said, the greatest liability from within can often be the lack of perspective from without. It is organizations like this, One to World, who show IRIS and so many other young and hopeful souls that perspective through this program that we are here to commemorate and congratulate tonight. This program shows what you can become, what you are, and what you have been, what you can be. What you can be. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a small insight into my appreciation for this award. Having tasted death several times, what I earned is an innate gratitude for life. And so to the scholars here tonight, I am sure you will value deeply what One to World has awarded you. They've helped you see, allowed you to try, and enabled you to learn. Armed you with one of those great gifts, the ability to be more than, not less than. And that is a great gift indeed. Before I wrap up, I have a 7-year-old daughter, Daisy. And just as a mark of how much progress we have all made as a society, 3 years ago I was having breakfast with her, and I said, "What are you going to do today, Daisy, at school?" And she said, "Dad, I'm going to play soccer." And I said, "That's great. I'm so glad to hear that. You understand, Daisy, that many years ago, young girls didn't play soccer." And she looked at me and said, "Why?" With indignancy, as it should be. Absolutely why. She's the product of many generations of accrued suffering that has given her the freedom to say why with indignancy. And my message to her has always been more than, not less than. And she repeats it to me, more than, Dad, always. So on that note, thank you. We have much to be grateful for.